Red John wasn't just a villain, he was the villain, the beating heart of fear that pumped through every season of The Mentalist. He didn't just kill, he designed pain. He turned murder into art, and for nearly 6 seasons, he played puppet master to both the characters and the audience. But who was Red John really? How did he build a cult-like following? How did he stay invisible for so long? And why did he become obsessed with Patrick Jane, not just as a target, but as a kindred spirit? In this video, we're diving into everything Red John, his psychology, his tactics, his symbolism, his legacy, and why he remains one of the most haunting villains in TV history. This is more than a breakdown, it's a dissection of evil. Let's begin. Let's not sugarcoat it. Red John isn't just a villain in The Mentalist. He is the show's darkness, the gravitational center of its most disturbing storylines. But to call Red John a man is almost a disservice. Because what makes him terrifying isn't just what he did, it's what he represented. Red John wasn't just evil, he was systemic evil. The kind that infects people, spreads into institutions, and leaves scars so deep you don't even know they're bleeding. He didn't just kill Patrick Jane's family, he rewrote Jane's entire reality. Let's rewind for a second. When we first meet Patrick Jane, he's charming, smug, and always in control. A former fake psychic who now solves murders using hyper-observation and manipulation. But behind this smirk is grief. And that grief has a name: Red John. Red John killed Jane's wife and daughter after Jane publicly mocked him on TV. That one moment set the tone for the entire series. Not just a backstory, a wound that never closes. But Red John didn't stop at murder. That was just the beginning. He toyed with Jane, left messages, stalked him, used pawns inside law enforcement to sabotage investigations, built an underground network of followers, moles, and fellow psychopaths. He operated like a cult leader, a mob boss, and a sadist all in one. He was always watching, always listening, always 2 steps ahead. And maybe that's what made him feel less like a person and more like a myth, a force. Red John's evil wasn't random, it was curated, artistic even. He didn't kill to survive, he killed to prove a point, to establish control. And worst of all, he made people want to follow him. People like Rebecca Anderson, Lorelei Martins, and half a dozen CBI or law enforcement insiders who were willing to betray their oath for a man who they thought understood something the rest of us didn't. That's not serial killer behavior, that's cult psychology. And Jane was his obsession, but also his mirror. The deeper you go into the Red John arc, the more you realize it wasn't just a game of cat and mouse. It was a twisted love story. Red John didn't want to kill Jane. He wanted Jane to become him, to snap, to cross the line, and Jane almost did, more than once. There's a reason the season 6 episode where Red John dies doesn't feel like a victory, because when Jane finally strangles him, there's no relief, no joy, no celebration. There's silence. It's quiet, brutal, personal, and it leaves Jane sitting on a bench in the dark, not triumphant, but empty. Because that's what Red John was always doing, draining the light out of everything. And here's the scary part. Even after Red John dies, the aftershocks keep coming. His network, his influence, his ideologies, they echo in later seasons. Other villains rise up, shaped by his legacy. It's like killing him didn't kill the evil. It just made it harder to see. So yeah, Red John was evil, but not just because of what he did, because of what he left behind. The fear, the distrust, the scars inside Jane that never really healed. Red John wasn't just a man. He was the idea that some people don't just break the rules, they rewrite them. That evil can wear a sheriff's badge. That a smiley face can mean death. That sometimes the thing that destroys you most is the part of you that recognizes it. Let's talk about that symbol for a second, the red smiley face. It's iconic, but not in a good way. Red John's smiley face, usually drawn in blood, isn't just a calling card. It's a psychological bomb, and it's personal, so deeply personal that just seeing it sends Jane into emotional chaos. But that's the point. Red John didn't leave it to show off. He left it to break people, to corrupt every space he touched with a mark so crude, so childish, that it laughed in the face of grief. There's something almost theatrical about it, like Red John wanted his victims and Jane to know that this wasn't just murder, it was a message. I control this scene. I control you. And let's be real, every time that symbol showed up in an episode, didn't your stomach drop a little? Because it meant Red John had been there, that he saw something you didn't, that the rules of the game had changed again. One of the most chilling aspects of Red John was his reach. This man had followers, loyalists, agents inside the CBI, people in positions of power who were willing to lie, cheat, and kill for him. And not just because they were scared, but because they believed in him. That's cult behavior. That's psychological warfare, and it changes the game entirely. Because how do you fight a killer when the system that's supposed to help you is infected by him? That paranoia, Jane lived with it every single day, and so did we as the audience. You never knew who was clean, who might suddenly betray him, and that slow burn dread, that's not just good writing, that's Red John's legacy. Red John's victims were symbols, not people. Let's not gloss over the obvious. Red John killed people, lots of them. But what's worse is why he killed them. It was rarely impulsive. It was deliberate, calculated, symbolic. He murdered to send messages. He chose victims that mattered. To Jane, to the investigation, to the audience. Victims like Miranda or Charlotte and Angela, whose deaths weren't just tragic. They were meant to transform Jane into something else. That's a different kind of evil, killing not for pleasure or even revenge, but for ideological impact. There's this moment right after Jane kills Red John. No dramatic music, no clever line, just silence, emptiness, and a broken man finally out of the storm, only to realize there's nothing left inside. That right there, that's the impact Red John had. He didn't just take lives, he took meaning from them. And that hollow victory, that's what makes him the most evil character in the entire show. Because even in death, Red John wins in the worst way, by proving that the damage he did can't be undone, and that is real evil. Red John didn't just go after lives, he went after identities. He loved unraveling people, making them doubt who they were, what they believed in, and who they could trust. He was a master of turning strengths into vulnerabilities. Take Lorelei Martins. She wasn't born evil, she was grieving, broken, and looking for meaning, and Red John found her. He didn't just use her, he reshaped her, made her believe in his cause, made her believe Jane was the true villain. That's next level manipulation. And Rebecca Anderson, an agent sworn to uphold the law, poisoned a man in cold blood to protect Red John. Why? Because she thought he had a deeper truth, something the world didn't understand. These weren't mindless followers. These were smart, capable people. Red John made them see him as a savior. That's evil on a level most TV villains don't touch. It's not about body count. It's about reprogramming souls. You want to know what else makes Red John terrifying? The fact that for years, nobody could pin him down. Fans had endless theories. Was it Bertram? Was it Hafner? Was it Partridge? There were lists, breakdowns, frame-by-frame dissections of scenes from earlier seasons. People weren't just scared of Red John, they were obsessed with him, because the show made you feel like anyone could be him. That uncertainty wasn't an accident, it was by design. Red John was the embodiment of the chameleon effect. He was whoever he needed to be in the moment. That's what made his final reveal so polarizing, and so smart. He wasn't a theatrical villain. He was a quiet one, a man in a sheriff's uniform, someone you'd forget in a crowd. And that made him all the more chilling. Because what if evil isn't flashy or dramatic? What if it's average, forgettable, just another face in the room? That's the real fear Red John puts in you. Red John's death didn't end the story. Not for Jane, not for the audience. Even in season 7, the post-Red John era, we see Jane haunted by what he had to do, haunted by the fact that he became a killer, that he looked someone in the eyes, put his hands around their neck, and squeezed the life out of them. Yes, it was justice, but it was also a line crossed. And for Jane, that line changed everything. His relationships, his worldview, his faith in people. Even his sense of humor took on a darker edge after Red John. And let's not forget the shadow that Red John cast over the CBI itself. The corruption he exposed, the paranoia he created, the way he undermined the entire foundation of what that agency stood for. That wasn't just a subplot, that was a warning. Evil doesn't always come from the outside. Sometimes it's inside the system, watching, waiting, working. Red John scared us because he felt plausible. He wasn't an alien, he wasn't a monster. He was a man who understood fear, trauma, persuasion, and power. A man who used emotional leverage as a weapon, who made people question their reality. And worst of all, he made Jane question himself. That's why Red John isn't just the most evil character in The Mentalist. He's one of the most evil characters in television, period. Because he didn't just murder, he transformed, he infected, he remade the world around him to reflect his own twisted philosophy. That's what real evil does. And The Mentalist never let us forget it. Red John was never just a man. He was fear. He was ideology. He was every worst case scenario hiding in plain sight. And even after he was gone, his fingerprints remained on Jane, on the CBI, and on every moment of silence that followed. What made Red John so terrifying wasn't just what he did, it was what he made others do. So, what do you think? Was Red John the perfect villain? Did the show reveal too much or not enough? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if this breakdown gave you chills, subscribe for more deep dives into The Mentalist and its most unforgettable characters. Thanks for watching, and remember, evil doesn't always knock. Sometimes it whispers.